Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to have a look at the brand new TFDI MD-11 for Flight Simulator 2024. The aircraft's just about to get released, and today we will take it through its paces on a classic LTU flight from Düsseldorf to the Maldives. However, it's a little bit loud over here, so follow me inside as we are boarding our aircraft through the two left door. And you can immediately see one of the huge changes that this airplane has seen with this update. Brand new cabin, and a really good looking one at that. Now, whom of you is old enough to remember those monitors hanging from the airplane's ceiling? That's something we haven't seen in a while, is it? Now, it's not just the economy cabin that's seen an overhaul, but likewise, the business cabin has also seen a huge update, and so have the galleys. As you can see, really beautiful job in here as well, with a lot of details that went into this. Now, on top of that, you can also open and access all those toilets over here, so that's really nice. Beautiful little business class over here as well, especially if you're flying on your honeymoon to the Maldives, which is pretty much what the majority of passengers are probably going to be today. So yeah, let's take a seat, and we are definitely going to come back for a second look into the cabin tomorrow morning when it starts to get daylight. But as you can see, the night cabin is already looking really nice, isn't it? But now, let's go to where we are going to spend the next 10 hours of our life, and that is obviously going to be the flight deck. Now we're going to start with a little basic handling over here, so catering service can already be requested, and then we can start setting up our flight deck. Electrical power is already applied, so let's go ahead and bring up the flight deck lighting up next. Here we go, and then please give me camera control. Hello? I can't move my camera. Sometimes this sim is so strange. Alright, and here's the main panel as well. Beautiful, that's what we're looking for. Such a nice flight deck, isn't it? Okay, so with all of that done, let's go ahead and start with a look at our flight plan in the electronic flight bag. So the EFB has seen quite a bit of work here. However, there's one thing that I would hope they are going to add with another update that is not available just yet, and that is the ability to view the actual operational flight plan. Because as you can see, we can only get this overview over here, where admittedly most figures that we need for the planning and for the FMC programming are available, but not all of them. So I suppose for the time being, we still have to use the FS24 EFB over here to have a look at our plan. So we're flying the LTU 730 from Düsseldorf to Malé on this MD-11 Delta Alpha Echo Romeo X-Ray, 9 hours and 13 minutes flight time. Now let's scroll down a bit. On-time departure at 1900 means we're going to arrive 12 minutes ahead of schedule in Malé, flying in flight level 330, later on 350, and then level 370. Now let's scroll down a little bit and have a look at these significant weather charts. And over here we can see that this is our route of flight, more or less a straight line to the border between Turkey and Iraq, and then from there down across the Gulf, across the UAE and Oman, and direct to the Maldives. A little bit of turbulence forecast, especially over Turkey down there, and once we've left that behind, the remaining 4 hours of the flight are going to be smooth. So with that in mind, let's have a look into the airport weather. Departing Düsseldorf, we got southeasterly winds, temperature -1 and a QNH of 1022. Over in Malé, we're expecting perfect weather conditions, 28 degrees at this moment. Probably going to cool down a little bit until tomorrow morning, but just a degree or two. Now, our alternate in Colombo has a little bit of thunderstorms at the moment, but the forecast is completely clear. So tomorrow at about 0600 is what's going to matter. The weather is going to be just about perfect over there. With that in mind, let's go up into our fuel section, and as we can see, 83.6 is the minimum takeoff fuel plus 700 kilos taxi. Well, that brings us to roughly 84 point bit, so since we are not that familiar with the aircraft, SimBrief says we are not going to use that much extra fuel if we fly faster or lower or something. But nonetheless, I want to be on the safe side. Let's load 2 tons more, and that just bring it up to 86 tons. I think then we are going to be good. So let's go into the payload sections, and I'm just gonna make it my life easier and type the zero fuel weight directly over here. So zero fuel, according to the plan today, is 169,700. So no, that's wrong. 169,700, like that. And for the fuel, we said we wanted 86 tons of fuel. So let's go ahead, 86000. Alright, set payload, and here's all of our data. And with that, we can go ahead and start our cockpit preparation procedure. Now, let's see how the catering is going. And it looks like they're just about done. The forward tug is already disconnecting. The aft truck is also disconnecting. Alright, perfect. Then let's go ahead and on the emergency exit lights, no smoking signs are coming on. Refueling is already completed. 86 tons are on board. So we can also turn the seatbelts on. And let's also turn some lights on. And then let's go ahead and request boarding, please. Alright, that stuff is in progress, then we can start with the actual cockpit preparation procedure. So the logbook is checked and the airplane is in good conditions, we've got no known issues with it. Circuit breakers are back here and back there, all in. Emergency equipment is checked, weather radar is switched off, the fuel switches are off. The parking brake, well, let's go ahead and set that one. The parking brake is set, the spoiler and flap handle is up. The spoiler is retracted, landing gear handle is down and in. Then fuel dump and manifold switches are both guarded. Battery is on, external power is on. Now I do want the APU, so let's go ahead and start with a fire test here. Okay, and then we can start the APU. APU indications hidden down here, so let's observe it starting. And here we go. Electrical power, meanwhile, is already supplied through the external power units, so that's good. Then let's go ahead and move on with the procedures. Next up, we are going to test the annunciator lights. Alright, and that's all looking good. Then let's turn on the IRSs, which is also going to conduct the cargo fire test automatically. Yep. That is looking fantastic. Alright, so with all of that done, let's see. The APU has finished its startup, so let's go ahead and start the timer here, looking for a minute before we are going to turn on the bleed air. Well then, let's go ahead and send our flight plan to the FMC. That's now sent, and then we can move on. So I am using my Winwing Boeing CDU for the interface with the aircraft. Through a MobiFlight, that works pretty well. So we got an MD-11, the nav database is up to date, the Pratt & Whitney engine is installed. Then we can go on to the flight plan initialization, and Düsseldorf to Malé has already initialized. The initial position is looking pretty good, so let's hit initialize IRS. Alright, so with that done, let's move all the way into our procedures. And the first procedure that we are going to do here is probably the most important, and that's getting out for the walkaround, so that we can have a good look at the model that TFDI have come up with. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning is that when you're walking on the left aisle, then sometimes there are a couple of hidden walls, especially when you are like a little bit lower down here. Now, when that happens, just move your point of view up a little bit, and then it normally works pretty well. Alright, so while you guys are getting in, let's get out, and let's start the walk around here. So, flashlight is Alt-F, let's turn that thing on, and then we can go ahead and start right over here. So we got our air inlets up here in the front, which are looking good. The pitot tubes in the bottom over here are looking good. The hatches are closed. Alright, that's pretty much all looking good over here. The tuck is already in position, that makes it a little bit hard to look at the landing gear, but here we are. And overall the gear is in a nice shape. Right, that's probably the closest we are going to get to this. So let's go to the back again and start working our stuff. Okay, so a couple of static ports over here, and then we can move further to the back. Huge airplane, isn't it? If you just look at how high everything is here. So, Pratt & Whitney engines. Beautiful texturing, especially on the fan blades over here. Overall, TFDI have done such an excellent job improving the visuals of the aircraft with this update over here. Also have a look at the acoustic lining on the inner part of the engine here. That's really a fantastic job. Then a quick look below the engine, everything's good down there. And then we can get to the back of it, and over here everything is looking fantastic. Alrighty, so let's walk along the leading edge of the wing here. And again, look at the amount of detail that went into this. For example, just looking at all the riveting over here, TFDI have really improved the visuals of this airplane. It's looking really good now, isn't it? Alright, green nav light's working, white nav light is working, and then we can move further to the front again. Alright, brings us to the landing gear. Over here we are looking for any signs of damages. We are looking at the status of the wheels, at any sign of leaks. We are looking for damages at the tires. All of that is looking really good though. What we do not seem to have on this aircraft here is a brake wear indicator pin. Not sure if TFDI haven't simulated it or if the real MD-11 just didn't have any. Can't find that type of information anywhere in the manuals. Alright then, let's go ahead and move along the back of the aircraft here and try not to get overrun. This is always the thing when you're looking up at the airplane while you are doing the walk around down here. Alright, man, that looks impressive. That just looks impressive. Look at this. That's what I call an airplane. Alrighty, stabilizer is looking good, and this side of the plane is going to be the same as the other side. So, let's head up to the front again. We also have the center landing gear that we gotta have a look at over here. And, well, that is once again in a good condition. Like this. Alright. Well then, another gear to check over here, but this time there isn't all that much we gotta go over. Trucks are still in position over here, and we're checking for the same thing that we also checked on the other side of the aircraft. Beautiful, isn't it? Just a little bit of lag here, which I noticed in general. The airplane seems to be rather performance heavy. Now, I've just flown it between 2 or 3 airports, which are known to be rather performance intensive as well. So I'm looking forward to how this is going to look like when we actually reach the Maldives, because the performance in the Maldives is really good. Here in Düsseldorf it's always a little bit performance heavy. But hey, here we go. Alright, one more engine to check. Again, let's have a look into the exhaust here. Side of the engine looking good. There are no open hatches at the bottom, otherwise things are gonna get spectacular again. And in here looks beautiful as well. Again, look at the amount of detail that went into this. I mean, this is fantastic, isn't it? Alright. So, that much about our aircraft. Then let's head right back in and go back up front to the flight deck. Man, it's incredible how quiet it is becoming inside, isn't it? Lovely sounds, by the way. They're doing a great job on that. Alright, so no lavatories at the front. Please go back aft to find a working lavatory. Alright, and here we are. Cool. Then let's take a seat down here and start working our procedures. So we are going to start on the overhead panel over here. Also note that the APU is running for long enough now. Let's put the bleed air on. So, CVR test. It's looking good. We do not have any temperature sensitives here. Engine ignition off, that's good. Now going over here, we can do the hydraulic system test. So, hydraulic pressure test in progress. In the meantime, we move further forward. APU power is also coming on. The emergency power is coming on, air conditioning panel is set, fuel panel is set, light panel, we've already set the stuff up here, nav and logo are on, that's all looking good. Then we're moving up here, GPWS test, then moving further forward, fuel used reset, and that leads us to the main panels. So, traffic, airport, VOR left and right, and the same on your side. So, hydraulic pressure test still in progress. I told you this one takes a bit of time. Right, let's move down here. We are going to wait a little bit with the QNH. And here we go, the standby is aligned. Looking good. Then we do have the auto brake down here, set to takeoff, and then down for the frequencies. So, charts, we are looking at Echo Delta Delta Lima, airport chart. So, delivery 121.78. Going active, then we need 121.605 for the ground. Okay, transmitting on 1, listening to 1 and 2 and to the interphone, that's looking good. Transponder 2000 above. Then the middle is set and the right hand side gets 1 to 1.5. Like that, and 12378 for the ATIS. Alright, you transmit on 1, listen to 1 and 2 and the interphone, and the rest is looking good down here. Well then, we are done setting everything up down here, so let's go ahead and move into the FMS. So, Düsseldorf to Malé alternate. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Is Colombo. Our flight number is going to be LTU 730, cruising level 330, later 350 and 370. Like that. Alright, now we need some temperatures here. It's ISA plus 3, and that means minus 58. And the average wind component is a tailwind at 28 knots. Alright, that's set. Cost index 30. Okay, then on to the flight plan page. Departing Düsseldorf, most likely 2-3 left, but let's just quickly go ahead and see if we can get an ATIS. So, initialize and ATIS. We're looking for Echo Delta Delta Lima. Alright, send that please. But it doesn't really work all the time. Sometimes you also need to just select arrival or even en route, and then it works. I couldn't find out for sure yet, but we got the message button and here it is. Düsseldorf information Sierra, and that's departing runway 23 left. Temperature minus 4, QNH 1025. Oh, that does not seem accurate. Actual field elevation is like 150. But look at that, at 0850 Zulu. That makes no sense. Okay, that ATIS is not accurate, but the runway should be. Alright, tell you what, we'll just stick to that. Let's go back into the FMC. Okay, so Düsseldorf, sit, 2-3 left, Doden 1 Tango departure. And we can insert that. And now we need to stroll like all the way down to the destination, which is going to be a long time. This is where the airport button from the Airbus is just really useful. I wish we had that in the MD-11. But here we go. Okay, Malé. So, star. And we are going to arrive on runway 36 most likely, so that's going to be the ILS Whiskey approach, 36 and the LBET 1 Alpha arrival. Here we go, Albert 1 Alpha. Do we need any transition from that? Might be Regat. I tell you what, I can't be bothered to scroll all the way down. I'll just select Regat. Alright, and insert. So we're going from Albert down here, Banku, Regat. Yeah, that looks good. That does look good. Alright, we'll stick to that. Great, then let's go on to the secondary flight plan, where we are simply going to copy the active flight plan. And then let's head over into the reference points. Define waypoint, we're looking for Düsseldorf emergency 3. And that's going to be based on Düsseldorf 23 left / 230 and 25 miles. No, okay, then let's just base it on the airport reference point. That is going to do the job. Yep, and we can enter this. Alright, cool, so onto the fix page now, and in here we'll put Düsseldorf with the radial 230. And then on the second fix page, we'll insert Düsseldorf emergency 3. No intercept is checked. I do not expect an intercept over there. Let's just see what we are getting now. Yep, here it is. So straight at over there. Now just tell me, why is that line like completely in the nowhere? 230. That doesn't seem to point into the correct direction at all. Or it might be the beam line. I don't want that. Alright, well, I'll tell you what, let's just remove that stuff. Then we don't have any extended center line. We still have the waypoint. That's all we are going to need. Alright, cool. So there's that stuff. We'll do the performance later, and then we just have the takeoff reference page. Over here we can already insert 0 slope, 0 wind for the purpose of the calculation, and the temperature is -4 degrees Celsius. Okay, so climb thrust at 1600, acceleration in 1200 please. Then we've got noise abatement procedure. Okay, looks like we can't put that below the climb thrust. So here we go. Then we do 1515. That's also gonna work. Alright, nice. So that way we are done with the FMS for now, or at least to the sit check. So let's go ahead and verify our standard instrument departure. Düsseldorf, Doden, 1 Tango Arnav departure. Hey, why can't I click anything there? Please be so kind and zoom in a bit. Zooming out works. But in only to this point. Okay, interesting. Well, anyway. Straight at Delta Lima 239 above 3000. Left turn Delta Lima 241. And if we go to the plan mode and zoom in a bit. Here we go. Then we got Delta Lima 239, and that one is above 3000. Then we have Delta Lima 241. We continue towards Delta Lima 242 above level 150 and then Elbal. So we got 242 above 150 and Elbal. And then we continue via Betzo towards Doden above level 250. And we've got all of that. Initial climb clearance is to an altitude of 5,000 feet. And 5.1 is pre-selected. Alright, looking good so far. Then we can set the QNH over here. Looking at about this, 1022 should be right. Or 1021 even. 150 feet elevation, that looks much more correct than what that ATIS had. So let's do 1021. Okay, cool. So looking at this, all the doors are closed already, so boarding is completed. Then let's go ahead and say hello to our guests before preparing the plane for a pushback. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel, and in the name of LTU, welcome aboard our McDonnell Douglas MD-11 on our flight to the Maldives. Today's flight time is going to be approximately 9 hours and 15 minutes, expecting A little bit of turbulence over Turkey, but otherwise a good flight. Now, for the time being, sit back, relax and make yourself comfortable, and if there is anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Liebe Fluggäste, einen schönen guten Abend aus dem Cockpit, hier spricht Ihr Kapitän. Mein Name ist Emanuel, im Namen der LTU darf ich Sie ganz herzlich an Bord unserer McDonnell Douglas MD-11 willkommen heißen. Die Flugzeit heute wurde mit ca. 9 Stunden und 15 Minuten berechnet. Wir erwarten einige leichte Turbulenzen über der Türkei, aber ansonsten einen ruhigen Flug. Machen Sie es sich jetzt bei uns an Bord gemütlich, lehnen Sie sich zurück und genießen den Flug mit uns und wir melden uns dann im Anflug auf die Malediven mit dem neuesten Wetter. Vielen Dank für Ihre Aufmerksamkeit und noch einmal herzlich willkommen bei uns an Bord. Alrighty, I suppose then we are good to go. So boarding is completed, the APU is running. Then we can already deselect the external power down there. APU power is taking over. And GSX, prepare the airplane for pushback and departure please. No de-icing needed. We didn't find any remains of ice during our walk-around, did we? Okay, then let's go ahead and call for IFR clearance, and once that is on board we can then go ahead and do the briefing. So 12178. Is that correct? Yeah, it is. Düsseldorf delivery, LTU 730, request IFR clearance to Malé. Okay, he's working on it. So down here everything's good, everything's getting ready, I like it.
LTU 730, cleared to mail via the Dode 1 Tango departure runway 23 left. Initial climb to 5000. Departure on 128.655 squawk 2551.
LTU 730 is cleared to Malé via the Dode 1 Tango departure runway 23 left, climb altitude 5000, departure 128.655 squawk 2551. Okay, Dode 1 Tango 23 left is confirmed. 5000 and 2551.
LTU 730, read back correct. Contact ground on 121.605.
121.605, LTU 730. Okay, and that tower will be next, 18305. Alright, are you ready for the departure briefing? Then, let's go. We are going to depart of Düsseldorf, runway 23 left. Dode 1 Tango departure, initial climb is going to be altitude 5000 and the MSA is 2800, including cold temperature correction. Generally the cold temperature correction is going to give us an MSA of 2600, so we don't have to bother with any of the altitude restrictions along our sit. Extra fuel and time, we've loaded 2000 kilos, which is going to give us approximately 15 minutes. So, hotspots for taxi out is anything that has wheels beneath it, especially when we're crossing roads on this airport. Lots of vehicle traffic over here. And apart from that, we've got no known stop margin, but it's definitely not going to be a lot. The engine outset is straight ahead to Düsseldorf X3, climbing to an altitude of 3000 feet, and if we need to make an immediate return, then Düsseldorf does not have a very long runway, so Cologne is the better option there, giving us a longer runway so that we can make an overweight landing there. However, if we have got any chance for time available, so basically for anything where the airplane is not on fire, we are going to pick up a holding, run the appropriate procedures, and then decide on the further course of action. Apart from that, I've got nothing special, I've got nothing non-standard here, and threats for the departure, I do honestly not see any. Anything from your side? No? Alright, then that's our briefing completed, so let's go ahead and do the checklists, please. So, cockpit checklist. Gear pins removed, pitot and static system checked, cabin signs on, FCP set, speed band, 0 taxi, altimeters, QNH 1021 reading 140, set left, and Set right. Okay, fuel. 85,950 kilos on board. System display status checked. System modes all auto. Takeoff data to go. Alright then. Let's go ahead and start our performance setup here. So, in it, next page. Then let's see what we got. 169.7 and the CG is not mentioned anywhere. Okay. Anyway, 86 tons measured, 86 tons accepted. So, total weight says 255.7, and that's 255.7, that looks good, we can accept this. CG 169.7 is looking good, and then we can accept the CGs down here as well, 15 and 25.5. Insufficient fuel, we can disregard this for the time being, however we can also quickly insert the correct fuel figures down here. So contingency is 2.3. Down here, alternate fuel is 7.9. And final reserves are 2.9. Okay, 73.2 taxi versus... Okay, that's where the weight difference comes from. But I'm going to accept this for the time being. Alright, then we are good to go. No refueling to happen, and then let's go ahead and calculate our takeoff data.
Point -8. QNH 1025. Transition level
Düsseldorf 23 left. We'll take Lima 1, so 2636 meters.
Delays in the FBO area. Advise on
256 tons.
Traffic services requested. Read all runway and hold short instructions.
Pax can remain on in an optimal case, but we'll see about it.
Düsseldorf Airport. Information Sierra. 0850 Zulu. Arriving runways 23 left, 23 right.
Yeah, I tell you what, get weather, because that 0850 Zulu makes no sense. That ADIS is broken. Okay, so this is looking good, this is looking good. Let's see what we're going to get here. Flex temperature 33 and 25 flaps. Alright. So, flex 33. Pax on. Interesting, I can't select pax on down here. Okay, so be it for the time being then. Flaps 25, and then we are getting speeds 52, 66, 73. And that's all looking good. Alright, and over here, that stuff is looking good as well. Alright. Nice, then we're done setting up the FMS, so let's continue the checklist. Takeoff data inserted, auto brake. Set takeoff, takeoff warning system. Checked, and flap takeoff selector. Here we go, MD-11, been a while. Alright, set 25, and that's the cockpit checklist complete. So that's 288 passengers, and I can once again not move my camera. What is the simulator doing? Here we go. Alright, so 288 passengers. Okay, it doesn't let me select the last number. Nothing happens when I scroll on that. So we're going to choose 290. Alright, that's good. Well then, we are good to go. Off-block time would have been 2 minutes ago, so let's go ahead and call for clearance. So, flight deck door. Closed. Let's go. Düsseldorf ground, LTU 730, request pushback and startup. Pushback and startup approved. Face north, LTU 730. Alrighty. So, ignition B, since it's an odd day, the beacon is coming on. Well then, let's get going. And... no, come on, hydraulic aux 1 pump on. Okay. So, before start checklist. Cabin secured, mobiles off, engine ignition set to B, beacon on, system modes auto, park and brake set, before start checklist complete. Ground from flight deck. Pushback and startup approved, facing north, and the park and brake is set. Roger, so facing north, release park and brake please. Park and brake released, we'll call the off block 04, and then we are ready to go. Roger that, start on the pushback and stand by for engine start. I am not used to having to remove chocks manually as a pilot. Okay, so start sequence will be 312 and be ready to start engine number 3. Roger that, clear 3. Engine 3 start.
Cabin attendants, arm doors and cross-check. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard LTU International Flight 730, departing from Malé International Airport. Our estimated flight time is approximately 90 minutes. We kindly ask you to
oil
pay close
pressure
attention to the upcoming safety demonstration, as it contains important information even for
That's
our frequent
15%.
flyers. To fasten your seatbelt,
Fuel on.
insert the metal fitting into the buckle until you hear a click. To tighten, pull on the strap. And to release, lift the buckle. Remember, your seatbelt must be fastened whenever the seatbelt sign is illuminated. Please return your seatbacks and tray tables to the upright position and ensure your window blinds are opened for takeoff and landing. Mobile phones and electronic devices must be set to flight mode. Laptops or larger devices should be securely stowed during takeoff and landing. Smoking and the use of e-cigarettes
cut
are
out,
prohibited
starting engine
anywhere
1.
on board, including the lavatories. If required, oxygen masks will drop automatically. Pull the mask firmly towards you. Place it over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Remember to secure your own mask before assisting others. Life vests are located under your seat or between the seats.
Right,
Put it on,
15%.
slip it over your head,
Fuel on.
fasten it and inflate it only after leaving the aircraft.
Okay, flight from ground,
Special
pushback
life
completed,
vests
set park and
and
brakes.
Floor level lighting will guide you to the nearest
Park and brake
exit,
set.
which is clearly marked. There are 2 exits located at the front and 2 at the rear of the aircraft, and the nearest exit may be behind you. In case of evacuation, please leave all personal belongings behind and follow all safety instructions from the crew immediately. If any electronic device becomes hot or catches fire, please inform a member of the crew immediately. For further details,
Okay,
please
start a
refer to the
cutout,
safety
engine
information
2
card
start.
located in your seat pocket.
Clear
Thank you
2.
for your attention and enjoy your flight.
And 2. Oil pressure. Fuel on. Waiting for N1. Alright, so there's the lifting tuck. And here's N1. Okay, ground, we have 3 good engine starts. You're clear to disconnect. Please show me the pin on the right hand side and have a good day. Bye bye. Alright, that's 3 good starts. Clear signal, there she is, and holding a pin. Wonderful. Then anti-ice can stay off. APU is not needed any longer. Control panels are set, and after start checklist please. APU off, anti-ice off, and system modes auto. After start checklist complete. LTU 730, request taxi.
LTU 730,
runway 23 left, taxi via Papa 4, Mike Lima 2.
Papa 4, Mike Lima 2, LTU 730. We're not going to take Lima 2, but I'll tell them when we reach the holding point. Okay. Clear left side. Clear right side. Brakes off. Let's go. Zone temperature selector off. Let's see, air. Oh yeah, that's up here. That's okay. That's intentional. Brake check. Brakes okay. Can't see all that much. Let's put the taxi lights into the landing position. I really like the night lighting on this airplane. TFDI have done a great job with that. It looks very immersive, doesn't it? Okay, tell you what. Here we go. Alright, so we're taxiing out of Papa 4 over here into Mike and then all the way to the full length. We will ask for Lima 1 though, we are not going to take Lima 2. Right side is clear, left side is clear. So let's at least pretend that we're trying to follow the taxiway center line exactly here. Okay, taxi procedure please. And that's gonna be flaps 25. So trim 9.7 units. .6 is going to do the job as well. Okay, good. Then we do have the green light. Let's do the flight controls. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Full left. Full right, and neutral. Alright, what is that thing doing over there? Is he sliding on ice? I suppose I don't even want to find out. No comment on that. Okay, so to review our takeoff briefing, it's going to be a left seat takeoff, runway 23 left, flaps 25, noise abatement procedure 2 with the acceleration in 1500 above the ground. Yeah, come on, someone remove that bloody A380 there. That looks embarrassing. That looks really embarrassing. Let's look inside. I don't want to see that. So, takeoff speeds with flaps 25 are going to be 152, 165, 173. LTU 730, request intersection Lima 1. I'm going to taxi through this. I can really not be bothered watching it though. No.
LTU 730, intersection L1 approved. Continue taxi to runway 23 left via Papa 4 Mike Lima 1.
Papa 4 Mike Lima 1, LTU 730. Yeah, come on, A380, go away. Alright, now it's away.
LTU 730, contact tower on 118.305, bye-bye.
118.305, LTU 730, bye-bye. Düsseldorf Tower, LTU 730, ready for departure.
LTU 730 heavy, Düsseldorf Tower, Moin. Runway 23 left, winds 150 at 10, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 23 left, clear for takeoff, LTU 730. What am I doing? Come on, you go back. Then we need the EFB back, please. Come on, give me my click spot. Here we go. Okay, so let's not get distracted with the unimportant stuff, let's do the important stuff.
Condor 139, contact ground on 121.605.
So the approach area is clear. Cabin crew, please take your seats for departure. Okay then. So, takeoff checklist. Flight controls checked. Flaps 25. Spoilers armed. Trim 9.6 units. EAD checked. Takeoff checklist complete.
Eurowings 4 Uniform Juliet, contact ground on 121.605.
Come on, move.
Ground, Eurowings 4 Uniform Juliet.
Alright. So, are you ready to go? I suppose the answer is yes. So, departure frequency pre-selected, and then we're ready to go. So, the first steps to paradise in 3, 2, 1, takeoff. Stabilized. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set. 80 knots. Checked. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Alright, FMS speed, nav prof. Autopilot on.
LTU 730, contact departure on 128.655.
128.655, LTU 730. Okay, flaps up. Speed check, flaps up. Long radar, LTU 730, heavy passing 2000, climbing 5000. Maintaining 5000, LTU 730. Flaps. Well, let's actually ask first. LTU 730, request 270 knots. Maintaining present speed, LTU 730. Alright, so speed 250, then we can't retract the flaps yet. 3000 over Delta Lima 239, yeah, just about. Suppose that's gonna be good enough. Okay, engine anti-ice on.
LTU 730, climb flight level 210.
Climbing flight level 210, LTU 730. Set. And 210 checked. Is it really not gonna climb any better than this? LTU 730, request high speed. But 1,000 feet a minute seems a bit too little for my taste.
Contact Langen radar on 128.555.
128.555, LTU 730.
LTU 730, approved. Maintain high speed.
Thank you, high speed approved. LTU 730, and we're switching over now. Alright, flap 0. Long radar, LTU 730 heavy, passing 4,300, climbing level 210.
LTU 730, Langen radar identified. Good evening, Mönchengladbach, QNH 1021.
1021, LTU 730. Alright. So that's the after takeoff items complete. And look at that, suddenly with the flaps retracted we're also getting a good rate of climb. That's what I've been waiting for. So the engines are in climb thrust and we don't need the timer any longer. But don't be worried, that timer is going to be replaced automatically with a flight timer. Alright, set standard. Standard cross-check, passing flight level 63. Now, checked, after takeoff checklist complete.
LTU 730, climb flight level 230.
Climbing flight level 230, LTU 730. 23,000 checked. Alright, engine anti-ice off. So with that we're up and on the way. Let's go ahead and see what our arrival time is going to be. Does it actually say that? Say that anywhere? Yeah, down here. 0530. I don't believe that. That's probably without the wind. It has to be without the wind. Okay. So, performance, optimum flight level 328, maximum 356, then we are gonna go up to flight level 330 as planned, and for the rest of it, we'll just do everything exactly as planned. And as mentioned, here's the elapsed timer now. 5 minutes in the air, and going. Okay. Approaching 10,000. Here we go. Lights are off, and I don't think it's going to be any turbulent anytime soon, so let's also switch the seatbelts to auto. Okay, lovely. So that's pretty much everything we can do for the time being. Then I would say sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And I'll see you all when we start approaching Paradise. 119.7 for LTU 730.
Mail approach on 119.7.
Malé approach LTU 730 heavy, passing 14,000, descending 5,000.
Mail approach LTU 7.
No, not you. We're doing that on our own.
LTU 730 heavy, mail approach. Expect the ILS Whiskey runway 18 approach into mail.
Expecting the ILS runway 18 whiskey, LTU 730.
LTU 730 descend 5,000.
Descending 5,000, LTU 730.
Descending to 5.
Why is that co-pilot still speaking? Alright, anyway, we are now descending towards Malé, and we are already seeing the first couple of atolls, actually just past the first nice one in the back over there. And, well, from here on, it's not going to be long until we are going to land at one of my absolute favorite destinations. So let's go ahead and start a little bit of an approach briefing here before we are arriving. So, tell you honestly, the easiest thing for us to do is just to go into the standard briefing, and that's pretty much going to cover everything. If you think something's not covered from the standard briefing, then do let me know in the comments below so that I can adjust it as needed. Okay, so we are arriving into Malé via the Albert 1 Bravo arrival for an ILS Whiskey approach runway 18. The minimum is 220 feet. That should have been set on both sides really. Here we go. 220, and in case of go around, it's straight out on the radio 183 outbound Malé VOR, which is tuned active on VOR number 1 and climbing 3000. Extra fuel and time, we're landing at 13.6, and we've got a minimum that's quite a bit below that, so we're looking at about half an hour of extra fuel. Now the approach is going to be flown with flight director guidance, flap 35 landing that we are going to do today, with maximum reverse and auto brakes medium. We are going to vacate the runway to the right hand side. Stop margin for the landing is about 2,000 meters. We vacate to the right and then taxi to the standard apron parking positions. We've got nothing special, nothing non-standard, and we're probably not going to have a terminal position today. Let's see, parking stance and coordinate, probably somewhere down here. Alright, apart from that, I've got nothing special. So, threats. VFR traffic definitely is one threat, so eyes are going to be outside. I mean, the beautiful terrain ensures that anyway, but eyes are going to be outside so that we see anything that's coming our way. Any questions or suggestions? Nope? Perfect, then that's our briefing completed, so let's say bye-bye to our passengers as well. Liebe Fluggäste, aus dem Cockpit spricht hier Ihr Kapitän. Wir haben den Sinkflug nach Malé begonnen und werden dort in ca. 10 Minuten landen. Das Wetter wunderschön, 28 Grad, eine leichte Bewölkung und wir können die Inseln auch aus dem Cockpit hier bereits sehen, so wie Sie auch an den Seiten einige der Inseln bereits sehen können. Wir bedanken uns ganz herzlich, dass Sie heute LTU geflogen sind, hoffen, dass Sie einen schönen Aufenthalt an Bord unserer MD-11 hatten und würden uns freuen, Sie bald wieder an Bord eines unserer Flugzeuge begrüßen zu dürfen. Jetzt wünschen Ihnen aber allen voran erstmal einen schönen Urlaub. Alright, if the cabin crew is of the opinion that they have to do their PAs over mine, then so be it. Going through 10,000, lights are coming on, seatbelts are on, fuel is looking good, and 1.5 is still on here. Okay, and that's the checks completed. So
730 heavy, proceed direct CI 18. Descend altitude 2,000 feet, QNH 1012. Until established on the localizer, cleared for the ILS runway 18 approach.
direct center fix, descending 2,000 until established, cleared LS Whiskey 18, LTU 730. Set, 2,000 checked. Alright, that does put us a little high on the profile here. Well, nothing that the speed brake couldn't solve. Why is it adding thrust even though we are on speed brake? Idle clamp. Okay, we are receiving the ILS, 19 miles out, 6,500 feet. Yeah, a little bit high. That was just an excellent shortcut there. So, 18 miles, 6,000. Yep, that glide slope does look accurate to me. I am happy to continue with that one. .26 degrees, no anti-ice needed for those clouds. And here we go, getting nicely below the glide slope. And there's the VNAV profile coming in as well. Right, thrust prof. Alright, this is all looking pretty much fantastic. Then let's do a quick check here. Frequency India Mike November. Whiskey 18. India Mike November is confirmed. With that, the ILS is identified and we're cleared for the approach. Approach armed. Alright. Approach checklist. System modes. Auto. Altimeters. QNH 1012. Approach checklist completed. Alright, that is looking fantastic. So let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. And fly it ourselves. So, speed is slowly coming back. Slots extend. Speed checked. And flaps 50. Speed check, flaps 50. Vertical speed minus 500. Speed is coming back nicely. 10 miles out. 180 knots. Perfect. Alrighty. Then we will be intercepting momentarily here. Now I wonder how the MD-11 is going to work, whether we are going to be guided to the final by nav mode, or whether localizer mode is going to capture directly. We will find out.
2500.
Terrain noted.
LTU 730, contact mail tower on 118.1 when established.
118.1, LTU 730. Alright, nav mode is turning us first. Malé Tower, LTU 730, heavy established, ILS 18.
LTU 730, heavy, Malé Tower, roger.
Localizer alive. Localizer capture. Runway 18, clear to land, LTU 730. Okay, runway heading 182 set. Glide slope capture, gear down, flaps 28. .3,000 feet go around altitude set. Flaps 35. Speed check, flaps 35. Landing checklist. Landing gear down for green. Auto brake. Medium. Set. Spoilers armed. Flaps 35. Set and indicating. EAD green. Landing checklist complete. Alright, visibility isn't that good today.
1,000.
Checked. Fully stabilized. Can't see the runway just yet, but we are gonna get that soon. Just gotta love it. Alright, let's not lose that glide, and there's the runway in sight. Alright, we're flying holiday makers. Those are especially keen on the smooth landings. So let's give it a 1A Ryder landing shot.
18 ready for departure.
300.
Guided by 108, 1060 at 12.
Disregard.
18 cleared for takeoff. Guided by 1208.
Nope.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, speed break up, thrust was normal.
Spoiler.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, we're not gonna take this one, but the next one. And with that, 9 hours and 19 minutes. Welcome to the Maldives. I would say that is the type of first flight that we can absolutely do more often.
LQ 730, welcome to Mail. Exit at Delta 7 stable. Contact ground on
121.6, and we're exiting Delta 6 LTU 730.
Did you know that this city is often referred to as the Venice of the East due to its beautiful islands and lagoons? Thank you for flying with LTU International. Please remain seated until we reach our final point.
Malé ground, LTU 730. Request taxi to gate Alpha 10.
We wish you a pleasant stay. The local time here is 10:31 a.m. If you have a connecting flight, please take note of the following. Flight number LTU 123 to Colombo.
LTU 730. Taxi to new terminal gate A10 via Delta 6. Charlie Bravo 8 Alpha. Good day.
Delta 6, Charlie, Bravo 8, Alpha, gate Alpha 10, LTU 730. Good day. Okay, so that is pretty much exactly as planned. And Delta 6, Charlie, Bravo 8
LTU 730. Taxi
to
to
Alpha
gate
10.
A1.
Yeah, and you don't need to repeat that. Okay. So, this is the former runway over here. This used to be runway 1836. If you've watched any of those lovely classic Pilot Eye TV videos where they're landing the A330 over here with the same flight number, then you would have landed on this one over here. Alright. So, GSX, gate. Gotta be 10 Alpha then. No follow me needed. Okay, right then left, and then there we are. And weather radar off. I like the way they implemented this with the weather radar on, icon flashing on the nav display. McDonnell Douglas definitely did a good decision with that. Alright, so the right side is clear, the left side is clear. Sometimes you do need a lot of thrust to get around those turns. Look at this. You need almost 50% N1 here to keep the airplane moving. Alright, Alpha 10 is coming up over there. So, start APU. Lights off. I cannot see a marshaller anywhere there. If I need to guess, GSX is hiding him behind the fence. But that's not really gonna help us. Well, then we'll just park ourselves. Always a good idea. Brand new aircraft, first flight, and you're parking yourself. Okay, I think if we just park a beam the 777 over there, then we're in the perfect position. Something like this. Alright. Parking brake set, APU is available. Well, I guess the APU power is on. 2, 1, 3. Yeah, APU power avail. Did the APU just shut itself? Yeah. For a reason that is totally beyond me, the APU died when we loaded it. Okay, services, chucks in position please. Ground power connect.
Autopilot.
And here we are. Quite a couple of fail indications, nothing surprising there, to be completely honest. Now the only question is, what is going on with that APU? It's restarting itself. No comment on that. Something like that had to happen, huh? Otherwise the flight would have gone too easy. Alright, anyway, next crew will be coming so we can shut the IRSs down. And here we go. I think that's it. So, parking checklist, please. That's almost it. Okay, exterior lights. Set, anti-ice, off, stabilizer trim. Well, forgot to set that, can't do it now since the hydraulics are down already. System display status checked, system modes. Okay, the hydraulic looks like it killed itself. Well then, hydraulic systems are all off. Okay, spoilers retracted, flaps and slats, yeah, gives me slats extended, but that's because I forgot it. Alright, let's see if we can put the electric hydraulic systems on there to still retract those flaps, and yeah, we can see them in movement. And here we go, slats and flaps are up. Okay, slats and flaps up, and fuel switch is off, parking brake is set, weather radar off, ATC transponder standby, and APU air is on and working. So that's the parking checklist complete. Well then, let's go ahead and request deboarding, and with that, my friends, welcome to the beautiful Maldives. Now, let's go ahead and say goodbye to our passengers. Also have another look into the cabin here, because the cabin is just fantastic in the MD-11. TFDI have done a beautiful job capturing that. At daylight it looks even better than it did at nighttime. I mean, just look at this getting close up to the windows. You can even move those window shades. It's a pretty cool thing. Really pretty cool thing. Alright then, the stairs are coming. Then let's move back up to the doors. And with that, it's time to say goodbye. So, welcome to Paradise. Have a beautiful holiday over here. And then I'm really looking forward to see you guys again on the next one. In the meantime, as always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Check out the TFDI MD-11 for Flight Simulator 2024. Definitely recommendable aircraft. We will go into some more details with it in the sooner future. But for the time being, and as always, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching. And then I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.